fucking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cup podcast and happy Halloween. We are getting deep on the FedEx Cup Fall today, and joining me to do all that looks a lot like Greg DuCharme, but I'm not positive. Greg, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too, boys. What a day at the office. I didn't even have time to put contacts in, so I'm wearing these glasses today.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to talking about the FedEx Cup Fall.
Well, you look great. Patrick McDonald is also here. Hi, Patrick.
Greg, happy Halloween. Rick, happy November 1st.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hope you're enjoying it out there.
November's off to a great start. Yeah. Just great.
I can't. What do we have to look forward to?
Oh, you just so much. I couldn't. We don't have the time, to go through it all. It's going to be great. You guys are going to love it.
What's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
Similar to today. Very similar to today. Yeah, nothing too crazy. So we'll ease into it. Now, Patrick, we were talking backstage about Halloween. I was saying, I saw some trick-or-treaters last night, and then you said, and I quote, I got robbed last year.
Boycotting the entire holiday this year.
And then I said, well, let's hear the story, but we figured it would be better to just tell it on air. So we have not heard the story about how you, Patrick McDonald, were robbed on Halloween last year. So let's have at it.
That's correct. And if I had someone like Greg DuCharme in my neighborhood, dressed like he is, whoever he may be, a superhero perhaps, this would have never happened. But unfortunately, I do not.
I can assure you, Patrick, everything would have been exactly the same, even if I was in your neighborhood.
Oh, right. Yeah, he just works at the newspaper, right? If he's just a regular guy.
That's true.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. I guess I need to look up the neighborhood Spider-Man, I guess.
Yes.
But last year, first Halloween in the new neighborhood. I live in a nicer part of downtown Charleston. Everyone's on their porches. It's a great time. My next door neighbor comes by. I'm kind of just on my front porch. I have a big bowl of candy out. I'm reading a book. I'm having a drink. It's going great. My next door neighbor's like, hey, you want to come over for a quick second? Introduce you to my father. Big swanky guy, friends with Seth Waugh. We're talking about the ins and outs of the PGA Tour. He's telling me how he thinks Jay Monahan's a complete dummy. He's pondering if he should invest in the PGA Tour too. I'm like, this is an unbelievable conversation right now. I kind of get lost in it. Took like 10, 15 minutes. And I'm walking back. I'm like, man, that was a terrific conversation.
Yeah.
This night took a turn for the better. Never saw it coming. And I turn back to my place and I see this woman, larger, hitting feet, just high knees like she's stepping in puddles, probably the fastest she's ever ran in her life. Did you know that 90% of people, once they get beyond the age of 30, never sprint again? Not this woman. She's in the minority. She's the 10% that has sprinted. And I'm like, what is she running from? She doesn't have a kid. She doesn't have anyone. And in my neighborhood, people actually drive in to trick or treat it. So it's not all locals, right? And I go to my porch. Everything's gone. Everything. The entire bowl is gone. It wasn't even that nice of a bowl. It wasn't a decorative Halloween bowl. It was a bowl I used to cook. Just a big bowl. Gone. And my only conclusion, and maybe this is on me for not giving her the correct justice or due process.
Yeah.
But I'm finding that woman guilty of stealing all my candy and bowl included.
Guilty until proven innocent in America. Interesting. Okay, well,
Patrick, this woman is clearly just exercising, and you're going to accuse her of stealing an entire bowl of candy?
Yeah,
she's exercising her right to steal. That's what she's doing.
Wow. So are you are out now? You're not participating this year?
Yes, the neighborhood needs to learn a lesson. And I came in swinging. I had the big bars, one apiece, a very stern iron fist on my front porch. I had adults asking me with their kids, Greg, I don't know if this is kind of kosher or what goes along with the etiquette of trick-or-treating with children, but I had adults asking me for candy. And I was like, "Oh, absolutely not. Kids only."
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Yeah. And then bada bing, bada boom, it comes back, bites me in the butt when this woman, adult, steals all my candy.
It's a shame. Yeah, if an adult asked me for candy, I would ask to see identification. If they presented it, I would say no. You should not have. Anybody who has identification is not getting candy.
It's adults who ask for candy are similar to the autograph grifters at PGA Tour tournaments.
What's the
Same
cutoff
level.
on trick or treating? I mean, it's got to be 15.
Yeah, 15. 16. Once you can start getting your driver's permit, get lost.
Get out.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do that anyway.
Yeah,
No, go get in some trouble, steal some candy off.
Go steal some. Yeah, go steal some. You're not knocking on doors at 16.
Go steal. Go steal something.
Just steal it. Just steal it.
Let's go steal it, loser.
Yeah.
Nerd.
You should be on mischief night, TPing everybody's houses.
Your night was last night.
There are 3-year-olds trick-or-treating and you are at age 16. Tough. High school must be tough for you, pal. Greg, what's your favorite candy to steal out of your children's?
Yeah. I would have to say the Kit Kat bar is probably number one.
Greg, I will tell you, they love Kit Kat here. They have got like 15 varieties of Kit Kat in Australia. They've got white chocolate, cookies and cream, Tasmanian mint, they've got all. They're delicious. They're all very delicious.
I'm sure they are, but I have a small problem with that.
I knew he was going to say like the original one.
One of the first lessons my father ever taught me was this was about Ritz crackers. He said, "You don't mess with perfection." Okay, that's the way I feel about the Kit Kat bar.
Yeah,
I mean it's got the best wrapper.
Yes,
it's a phenomenal wrapper. The packaging's great uniforms, and it's just a perfect piece of candy. So. Yeah, I'm Kit Kat all the way. There are many others that I like, but nothing stacks up to the original Kit Kat bar.
Wow. Okay, Patrick, I'm a Reese's peanut butter cup kind of guy. So what do you go for?
So I'm a peanut boy, which is a completely different conversation about us not being represented correctly. That I'm allergic, EpiPen boy as well, and so I was always taught to kind of avoid chocolate.
Yeah.
In my stash.
They're made in the same factories and they touch a lot of nuts all the time.
A little sketchy. I wasn't really great at reading growing up. And so it'd be like contains nuts. I'd be like, what does that mean? And I would try to go after it. My parents would tackle me. So I've leaned more towards the completely fake stuff. Airheads, sign me up. Skittles, yeah. All that stuff I'm in. But Airheads for sure are my number one.
Yeah, no natural flavors at all. Nothing comes from the ground. It's just all artificial, made in a lab.
No, it like Halloween 2003. That haul is still in my body somewhere. Right, that's not getting digested through. It's like when you eat gum, it's there for 12 years. That's
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
That disgusts me, but I do feel for you.
And on that note, we are going to start talking about golf before we lose our lunches around here. We've got questions that we've put together. We've got some topics of conversation. We are going to hit those and much more after a quick word from our partners.
Sunday, red hot QBs take center stage. A showdown in the dog pound. And the stars are set to light up the late afternoon. Now that's a CBS Sports Sunday.
And we're back. Okay, so what has happened here is Josh has done an excellent job of putting together some topics of conversation that kind of start in the FedEx Cup Fall, but allow us to discuss some bigger name players. Looking forward a bit to the 2025 portion of the schedule. We've got just a couple of events left of the fall schedule, but we start with the more popular golfers, the bigger names, Justin Thomas, Max Homa, Rickie Fowler, and how they have potentially changed our opinions or not in the fall over the last couple of months and what that means moving forward. So let's start with JT here. Is there something, Greg, that Justin Thomas has shown you recently that gets you excited about his 2025?
Yeah, well, his ball striking is phenomenal. And this is what Justin Thomas is. And so I'm always looking for players who have significant strengths. When they start to struggle or lose their game, is it an area that they're weak in, or is it an area that they are strong in? And in 2022, JT struggled with his iron play. Now, he ended the year like 33rd in strokes gained approach. So that's not a significant struggle for most players, but it is for Justin Thomas. His greens and regulation went way down. It's clear to me that ball striking is back. I was very pleased with the way he drove the ball at the Zozo on a difficult driving golf course. He kept the ball in play. That is phenomenal stuff. And so the two areas in the one fall event Justin Thomas has played, he led the field in strokes gained approach, an area of strength, and he was third in strokes gained around the green. I think he got up and down all but once. He was near perfect in scrambling for the week. So those are the two strongest areas of JT's game, and they seem to be back in order. And that puts Justin Thomas in contention for a significant number of weeks on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, the ball striking for me stood out as well. 5 straight in which he's gained on approach. He's gained in like 10 out of his last 12. So things are starting to get better there. Patrick, what leaves you optimistic about JT in 2025?
Ooh, optimistic. I was going to go the other way.
Okay, give me the pessimistic.
There's a couple things here. One, he is still a very bad putter. A very bad putter. That's not sugarcoating. He was bottom 11 on the PGA Tour this season. I would love for him to make some sort of change. He has done minor changes, whether it's going back to his gamer and then going back to the Scotty Cameron mallet. He did a stint with aim point. I'm not sure if he's still doing that also. Left hand low, I believe, at a certain stage as well. He's back to the conventional grip too. I'd love for him to switch it up a little bit. Maybe get a spider in the bag. Maybe get a lab putter in the bag. They've been a heavy topic on this podcast.
How about a broomstick?
Maybe a broomstick in the bag from lab golf as well. I would love for him to make a pretty substantial change because he doesn't need to be a top 50 putter on the PGA Tour to win. He needs to be around a top 100 putter, probably. And he was not that in 2024. And you look at where his putting has really fallen off a cliff. Since his 2022 PGA Championship win, his last win, in major championships, there's been 10. He's gained strokes putting once. It was the most recent Open Championship as well. He has been abysmal on the greens in major championships. So my cause for pessimism with JT is, do I trust him on the back nine on Sunday against elite fields, which goes into this? There are only so many wins these guys are going to have a chance, so many tournaments these guys are going to have a chance to win because none of these guys really play anymore. They all play the exact same tournaments. He's going to be playing against Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, and Rory McIlroy pretty much every time he tees it up. Like Victor Hovland, I think, played one non-signature event, one non-major last year. Same with Patrick Cantlay. JT was a pretty similar schedule as well. And so all these wins are going to be gobbled up by a Scotty Scheffler or Xander Schauffele, kind of like they were in 2024. And so for JT, how does he get that edge? How does he get closer to them? I think it does come with the putting because we saw last year just ball striking alone isn't enough to keep up with Scotty Scheffler. And I don't know if I have faith with him not changing anything to become a better putter.
As if there wasn't going to be more chaos and change, expecting baby Thomas, right? Any week
Baby
now.
bump, perhaps.
Perhaps. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's look at Max Homa here, Greg. I think he's harder to get a read on. His lows were lower than Justin Thomas, lower than we've seen from Max Homa at any point in his career. Maybe started to see some better play at both the President's Cup and maybe a little bit at the Zozo Championship. What are we thinking about Max Homa moving forward?
I'm actually quite optimistic about Max Homa. I don't think he's as far along as Justin Thomas. For instance, you take the things that I said about JT, you combine them with what Patrick said about JT, and we have a guy that is what I would call back. Right. This is what Justin Thomas has been for a long time. Puts him in contention. There are still questions about how he can win. You look at Max Homa this year and his strengths throughout, since at least 2019, his strengths really failed him in a rather miserable way. He really started to struggle off the tee from the Masters on. And that was alarming. It's a sign that he lost his golf swing, which is kind of this year, heading into 2024, the short game and the putting started to get a little better. And that was the thing that we talked a lot about being the difference maker for him in the majors. Well, it was at the Masters. And then all of a sudden he loses his swing. And we haven't really seen that out of Max Homa. That being said, if you look at rickrungood.com, you look at Max Homa in a round by round basis with his ball striking numbers, they've gotten a whole lot better since the second half of the BMW Championship, a whole lot better. He's starting to put up some numbers that are very similar to what Max Homa looks like. The putter has now let him down. So it's almost like we're back to Max Homa of 2022, where if he putts well, he could win. So I still think he's got a little work to do to show that consistency. But looking at his driving, it's very clear to me in his last, say, 11 rounds or so, he's made a big step. And we're not seeing the disastrous driving performance from him of late. So, I'm optimistic, but I still think there's work for him to do.
I love that Greg went into the number side of this because that's usually the path that I go, Patrick. But for Max Homa, I'm just throwing it all out the window and saying I trust Max Homa. Like in Max, I trust. I believe that a golfer who basically for the first 6 years of his professional career found a way to improve year over year over year, which is very rare. See very few guys that can do that. I trust that he will just get right. And I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know when he's going to do it. I just think that he will because I know he's going to put the work in. I know he questions. He asks the right questions when he's in his process. If it means going back to a different coach or whatever it might be, I just trust that he is going to do it. He'll put pride aside if needed and just figure out the best way to contend.
Yeah, I agree with everything both of you guys just said. I will say, being the heel again, these guys go through stretches of 3 to 4 years where they make their careers.
Yeah.
Right. We just talked about Justin Thomas. Of his 15 wins, 12 of them came from 17, 18, 19, and 20. Jordan Spieth is another example of this, perhaps. He has 2 wins in the last, I think, 7 years, which is crazy to say out loud. And so Max Homa, age about to be 34, an unconventional path to this point in his career. 2021, gets that big win at the Genesis Invitational, compounds that into 22 with a couple wins, a great 2023. Also, maybe that was Max Homa's window. Right. And so I think that's something I'm looking at. I totally agree with you from the numbers perspective and the, I guess, mental perspective that you touched on, Rick. He's going to work his tail off. He's not too proud to go back to Blackburn if he believes that's going to be his best route to get better or whatever it may be. But these guys have windows, and who knows if his isn't closing a little bit.
It's interesting. It's an interesting conversation to have. We'll put a pin in Max Homa for now. And Patrick, you get first crack on the last big name here, and that is Josh who?
Rickie Fowler.
Yeah, obviously. If we set the line for wins for Rickie in 2025 at 0.5, does he win? Does he not? Is essentially the question here. What side would you like to be on?
I think there's a very obvious answer here. And
Okay.
since I've gone heel the first two, I'm going to go heel on the third as well. And I'm going to say Rickie Fowler wins in 2025 because unlike Justin Thomas, unlike Max Homa, Rickie Fowler is not in the signature events. I know you're saying, Patrick. He's going to get a sponsor's exemption into all 8 of them. And he very well could. There's no doubt about that. But if he doesn't, Rickie Fowler is going to have a far different schedule than those guys. If he doesn't climb into the top 30 in the OWGR either, he's number 66 at the moment. He's going to have to play in those full field Gen Pop events, which you could argue without the likes of Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, and the rest of the top of the PGA Tour, there's more winning opportunity. Obviously, deeper fields, very tough to win still. So by that logic, throw Rickie Fowler back in the winner's circle next season.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'm obviously on the other side of this just because there's only so many names that if you said over under a half a win, I would take the over on, right? I mean, we just talked about how few times Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, throw Patrick Cantlay into the mix. Been a couple years for him. It's hard to win. Colin Morikawa, throw him in there as well, right? It's like then you go Rickie Fowler, and I understand it's been a great fall, Greg. T16, T23, 4th. It's the fall. It's 3 events. He's getting the equipment change bump. He has not proven to be, no offense, that this is fine. You don't have to. He's not like a grinder, right? Like he didn't even play after the Open Championship last year, right? Didn't even try to save his season. Just kind of waved the white flag. Like I don't think he's going to play 35 times to try to get right. So I'm saying no wins for Rick.
That's probably the smart thing to say. I mean, how many guys are going to win how many players are going to win on tour in 2025? Or it's going to be what? Third?
Yeah, like 25 or 30?
30 probably.
Yeah.
A realistic number. Scotty will have 15 wins and then everybody else will win once.
Right.
So I can definitely see that argument. The line that I was going on was definitely the line of the schedule. And I think there are some events for Rickie Fowler that he can play in where he is looking at a different schedule. And if we expand this to the remainder of the fall, especially, I think the chances of him go way up. If you say from this point until the Tour Championship, I would take the over. Because I think Rickie has a legitimate chance to win one of these 3 events in the fall if he plays them. I hope he plays. He needs to play them. He really does. And if he doesn't, then that really goes to your point, Rick, of not being a grinder. I mean, he's what, 96th in the FedEx Cup right now. He's got to play these events to try to get into those first 2. And if he doesn't, I got a little bit of a problem with that. And that would sway me from no. If Rickie Fowler plays like he has these first 3, even if he doesn't win in the fall, I think he wins in 25. If he doesn't play any of these 3 events, then I'm going to say no.
Ooh,
but
I like this.
I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play. I think he's inspired right now. And I think he's going to win next year.
Well, he's playing some of the best golf he has in a while, so don't stop now. Okay. This is more open-ended. Anybody you want. I'm not going to put a name in your mouth, Patrick. The one golfer that you are more bullish on now leading into 2025 than you might have been a couple of months ago.
Oh, more bullish. I'm going to go with someone who has not played this fall on the PGA Tour, but has won and that is going to be Benny On.
Oh,
Winner
good
at the
name.
Genesis Championship in a playoff over Tommy Kim, if we're allowed to call him that. Played decent at Wentworth as well, where he has won
Yeah.
also. And so he's won on the DP World Tour a couple times now, has yet to enter the winner's circle on the PGA Tour. But you look at his skill set, a bomber of the golf ball. He's a much improved putter with that broomstick. I hope Justin Thomas is listening. I know he's an avid fan. And he had some great results at some big time golf courses. Kapalua, he was close. API, he played well. Quail Hollow, where there's a major championship this upcoming year, he finished solo third there. Came close at the Sony Open as well, losing in a playoff, missing that short putt. So I think I'm buying Benny On, and I'm buying Benny On to become a PGA Tour winner in 2025.
Oh, okay. Maybe a little President's Cup bump. Yeah, I mean, he after the Scottish Open, he was great. Open Championship, he finished T13, made a deep run into the playoffs, went overseas, played well at 2 events there, including the victory. So that's a good one. Greg, where are you headed for someone that you think could be in for a big 2025?
Well, in the rundown today, Rick was the only one who put his answers in. And I looked at this. One of my answer was originally Rick's answer. So I'm going to pivot. All right. Just know when Rick shares his answer, I agree. But this one's a little different, and it's Harris English. Harris English hadn't been playing very well. It was kind of a slump. The putter was cold, which he leans heavily on. His driving and iron play was kind of weak, and it always makes me wonder when Harris struggles what his health is like. I know he has some struggles with his hip from time to time, but now we've seen him at the Black Desert Championship and the Shriners putting really well and finishing tied 6th and tied 9th. The thing I know about Harris English is when we get to big time golf courses, if he's healthy, he can go. He can compete. You're talking Riviera. I'm thinking Oakmont. These U.S. Open kind of style golf courses, Harris English has a tendency of excelling in. And seeing this little bump here in the fall, I think gives him a huge momentum and headway into a 2025 season where he could be a real factor.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It is always seemingly health with him. If he's healthy, he plays well and is incredibly well-rounded, and he can pop up at the top of leaderboards. Just has to be healthy. The one guy that Greg and I both considered here was Kurt Kitayama. I'm not going to speak for Greg, but I assume it is a lot because of these tee to green numbers that
let's call him Kit Kat. Okay.
Yeah, Kit Kat.
Kitty Cat.
Who has been putting up unbelievable tee to green numbers since the Scottish Open. That has turned into a couple of really good finishes during that time period, a T6 at the 3M Open, and then his last 3 events in the fall here, the only 3 events that he played, T25 at the Black Desert, T9 at the Shriners, and a 5th at the Zozo Championship. He is just one good putting week away. He's a miserable putter, just miserable. But we have seen, Lucas Glover, we've seen Ben On, we've seen guys just find me a week or two, and Kitayama makes a lot of noise. So that was the one, Greg, that we were both aligned with.
Yeah, and he won the Arnold Palmer Invitational 2 years ago. He rounds back into form. I really think he could be a factor in some of the biggest events on the schedule in 25.
Yeah, he's super talented. Okay, now this is the opposite direction we have to go here, Patrick. It's a little bit tough. The golfer that we have maybe become a little more bearish on, getting a little lower on heading into 2025.
This has nothing to do with his play, but more of the extracurriculars. And if I'm buying Benny On, I'm selling Tommy Kim.
Yeah, okay.
I obviously he's only 22 years old, but there are clear signs that some maturing needs to happen this off season.
Is this because he broke a locker?
Let's just look back these past three months. August, St. Jude Championship, damages a putting green, doesn't fix it, issues an apology. Okay. He's frustrated. I get it. President's Cup. He's hooting and hollering. He's trying to flex on Scotty Scheffler, trying to bump into him, poking the bear. I get it. They're best friends. They play in Dallas. They do this all the time.
They share a birthday.
They share a birthday. They call him Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom. And then at the press conference after, he tattles on presumably Wyndham Clark and company for saying some bad words at him.
I have no problem with tattling on Wyndham Clark. All the rest of this stuff, I'm with you.
And then he issues an apology. Fast forward, October, end of October. This past week, I think. Tom Kim, early steps a la Wyndham Clark on the 72nd hole. He thinks that he made the birdie to win the Genesis Championship. He lips out. He makes bogey on the playoff hole, loses, allegedly damages a locker in the, locker room.
Yeah.
Issues an apology.
It
like
is
an apology a month.
No one has, if you said who has issued the most apologies in professional golf, Tom Kim would probably not be high on my list, but you're right. He's a once-a-month apologizer.
Can't wait to see what November brings.
I mean, he has the same number of apologies this year as Joe Highsmith has holes in one. Right? These kind of things, nobody ever has more than one. Holes in one or apologies. So he's got 3 in 3 months.
He's getting really good at like the Notes app screenshot post on Instagram. Like that's the go-to.
Which is a skill, which is a sign of maturity, some could say.
Yeah.
And so
but not for you.
Only 22. I think he has a little bit of maturing to do. And because of that, Tom Kim, I'm out.
Okay. Well, Greg, would you like to psychoanalyze any other golfer, or where are you headed?
Well, there are a couple of guys that stick out to me. Well, I'm gonna go with this one. This is disappointing. Okay, and it may surprise you. It's Will Zalatoris.
Wow, I am surprised.
Yeah. So for a long time now, I've been waiting for Will Zalatoris to come back and be back and be good again. And I'm just looking at a 2024 season that has not been very good towards the end. And we come to the Zozo, it doesn't make the Tour Championship, and we get to the Zozo, and I'm thinking this is a perfect golf course for him. He's going to be hungry. I know he's still working on this new golf swing, and this is a perfect golf course for him, and he's going to play great. And he doesn't hit it very well, and he finishes tied 41st, and he doesn't play great. And so now we're taking a player's strength, and we changed his swing to fix his health. And I'm concerned, growing more and more concerned that it's messed up his strength. I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do, because health is the most important thing. You got to be available if you're going to be a PGA Tour player. Mm-hmm. But he has an issue already with the putter. Now you're going to add this into the mix. It's very concerning for me, and I'm not sure we're really on the comeback trail. So I'm gonna go with Will Zalatoris.
It's interesting because we do this week in and week out, and sometimes you get lost in the weeks. But like when Patrick was reciting all the things that Tom Kim had done over the last 3 months, and Greg is reciting all the things that Will Zalatoris has or hasn't done in the last year, it's like, yeah, it kind of tells a little bit of a different story when you zoom out a little bit, as opposed to just saying, it's 1 week. We'll see what he does next.
Right. Oh, well, he just got hurt. He's coming back. He'll find it. He'll find it.
Right.
Well,
you say he'll find it 15 times, and now we're 15 weeks later.
Well, now the year's over, right? Now all of a sudden you look at this from the Masters on, from after the Masters, and it's really, I think he would say, a pretty poor performance. He has a T12. That's his best finish. A T13. Other than that, it's missed cuts, WDs, and outside the top 40. So it really hasn't been strong, and he's been weak in his strong areas, which is the real concerning area for me.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, you guys picked 2 stars, which I like. I went farther down the list because, again, similar to what Greg said, like I disappointing. Just Joel Damon, right? Joel Damon hasn't been good. Joel Damon just moved inside the top 125 because he got a sponsor's invite into the Zozo Championship and got free points just for showing up, and passes Joe Highsmith and bops him out of the top 25. But Patrick, we have not seen anything from Joel Damon since the first Full Swing aired.
What are you trying to say, Rick?
I'm saying
did the superstardom get to his head?
Yeah, I'm saying, what's that one meme where it's like, oh, these lights, they're so bright. Turn them off.
Oh, Trump at the podium.
Yeah.
Turn those lights off.
Yeah, I think it might be too bright.
Yeah, I think it's worth reminding Joel Damon has never been that guy.
Yeah, but he was like, what, top 40 in the world? In
2020, kind of through, I don't know, 22, it felt like. Beginning of 22. 2020 was his year. He finished 5th at the Genesis, 5th at the API, and top 10 in the PGA Championship.
And he won an opposite field event somewhere in there.
And then he won in Corrales in 2021, his first win.
Wow, it's been
only one.
Wow.
And so
yeah,
it's been bad. Don't get me wrong. The putter is in a very poor spot. The iron play is actually, like, it's had moments. Pretty good at the Zozo and pretty good in Utah that I'm looking at, but putter is really, really bad. And so
I think he led the tour in proximity to the hole.
Oh yeah, he was
speaking of iron play
this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow,
you could fact check me on that. It might have been a specific distance, but I think it was all around.
That is insane. I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years.
Yeah, you're right.
I know. Is that right? Did you check it, Rick?
Yeah, I got it. So here we go. So it's just proximity to hole. So average distance the ball comes to rest after your player's approach shot must be determined by a laser, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Yeah. Number 2, Scotty Scheffler. Number 1, Joel Damon.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So average of 33 feet, 2 inches. Scotty was 33 feet, 11 inches. Number 1 on tour.
He's a better iron player than Scotty Scheffler.
This is all just like team no putt. Like, Lucas Glover is 3rd, Doug Gim is 6th, Kurt Kitayama is 6th, Keith Mitchell is 8th. Like,
Keith Mitchell.
We're into putt, nerds.
It so does beg a good question though with Joel Damon about to be 37. You know, if he doesn't retain his full-time status, he has other interests outside of golf. He's dabbled into broadcasting already, both on Netflix and the PGA Tour.
It does
kind of beg the question if he goes the Kisner route almost.
I'm not ready to retire Joel Damon yet, but
I'm not either. But yeah,
but retirement is so weird in golf where Kisner's like playing, and like Damon would be awesome in a full-time capacity in a lot of things. Sometimes golf, but the broadcasting, he's done a lot of like branding stuff. Like, he's like a very likable dude, obviously. And he's very good at speaking to an audience, but the golf is not good.
Now, Kisner played 21 times this year. His page, it looks like the stock market today. His best finish was T33 at the 30.
Is the market down over there?
Yeah, I assume you shorted everything. I think the Nasdaq's down like 2%.
Yeah, well, I knew that was coming. I'm from the future. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I learned a lot there on one of the guys that I picked, Joel Damon. Okay. Well, listen, we've got more. We've got some 2025 winners that we need to talk about, and then how we are going to assess the final 3 events of the FedEx Cup Fall. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Get ready for more UEFA Champions League action.
Absolutely astonishing. It's an exceptional goal.
It's been bonkers football. The UEFA Champions League on CBS Sports Network, and stream every match live on Paramount Plus.
And we're back. Okay, I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order here because I'm going to go with this one first. The win that meant the most in 2025. So just to recap the victories. The Pro Core, that was General Patton Kazire. The Sanderson Farms, Kevin Yu, yes, sir. Black Desert Championship, Matt McCarty. Shriners, JT Poston, back in the winner's circle. And the Zozo Championship, that was Nico Echevarria. So, Greg, with those 5 in mind, which of those wins meant the most?
As Josh said in his question, in the context of 2025,
yes,
which I think is important, at least for the way that I answered the question, I went with Matt McCarty. Okay, now this is a guy coming off the Corn Ferry Tour, wins the Corn Ferry Tour. There's quite a bit of hype, and he's a fully exempt player. And all he does is go out and extend, and nearly immediately extends his exemption on the PGA Tour. And when you start playing with house money like that, which he is to some degree, you start to believe that you belong right away. And it's really important to go out there and win early. And I think of all these winners, Matt McCarty is probably the guy that has the chance to make the biggest splash in 2025. You could argue it's JT Poston, and I would understand that argument. I just think it's a little more. I think JT Poston, we're going to see a more normal year from him, which is pretty good. I think Matt McCarty could be kind of a new star on the PGA Tour as a result of this win.
I hope that is right. That's not what I went with, Patrick, but I hope that Greg is absolutely right because I like this guy a lot. So we'll see.
I went with Matt McCarty as well for a lot of the reasons Greg said. And then you factor in the potential changes coming in 2026 too, and how difficult it is for these guys to keep their cards and how difficult it is for players if you have to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour. Well, now there's 10 less spots available for you on the PGA Tour. So he just opened up his entire year and honestly his entire career by winning in Utah. He starts in the Century, he's in the Masters, he's in the PGA Championship. He's going to have a great chance to potentially play himself into the signature events. And with that comes elevated FedEx Cup points and a real inside lane to keeping your card and doing some real damage and potentially making a run into the postseason. So for me, it was McCarty as well.
Okay, I like that. I went with Nico. I just think that when you've got the ability and the upside to win, he's now got a couple of them, still trying to figure out what he is. This earns him. I mean, think about what it earned him for 2025 is the ability to get into a lot of these events, the ability to pick your schedule a little bit of more freedom. Because it was a rough stretch between win number 1 and win number 2. So I'm interested to see now if he can, let's just assume there is a win number 3, but like the time period that happened between win 1 and win 2, what does that time period look like after win 2? Like, yeah, we got to do better. We absolutely have to do better because you probably couldn't have done much.
I have a trivia question about Nico.
Okay.
So the 2023 PGA Tour Rookie of the Year candidates, there are 4 of them. Eric Cole, Ludwig Oberg, Nico, I think, and one other guy. Maybe I'm a year early or a year late. But
you're just making this question up off the top of your head.
100%. Yes. Okay. Nico was a rookie in 2023. Okay. So it's Nico, Ludwig, and Eric Cole. Who's the 4th nominee?
It's going to be something weird because Patrick brought it up. It's going to be...
Is it like Bryce Garnett or something?
Dude, Bryce Garnett's been on the tour forever.
Well, I gotta have the wrong.
All right, here's a hint.
Kevin Yu.
Last year he won in 2023. Yeah, last year he won on both the PGA Tour and DP World Tour.
Oh.
Okay, not Bryce Garnett.
I know it. He won the Irish Open and he won an opposite field event and he went to Oklahoma and he mashes the golf ball and his name is Vincent Norman.
The Candyman
is correct.
Yeah.
It's way up.
Wow. I mean, without the hint, I would never. I had nothing. I had nothing without the hint.
Bit of a sophomore slump for the Candyman as well. Best finish outside the Zurich was a T40. No, that's on the DP World Tour. A T47, T45 at the Texas.
Well, you know what they say. Sophomore year defenses start adjusting to you. You've put some stuff on tape.
The tape's out. Yeah,
tape's out. You got to make more adjustments. Was there anything surprising, Greg? What was the most surprising result? Doesn't have to be a win. It can be anything you want, really. There's no rules around here. But what surprised you the most about the
Nico Echeverria beating Justin Thomas and Max Grazerman down the stretch. This is his only other top 10 in a PGA Tour event as an individual is his win in Puerto Rico. Right. I mean, after that win, he missed 12 cuts in a row. He played 47 events from the win in Puerto Rico to the win in the Zozo and missed 27 cuts. The only top 10 in that stretch was a T4 at the Zurich with Max Grazerman. I mean, there was just no sign. There was no sign that was going to come. You look, Kevin Yu. I've been waiting for this for a long time, right? He's a team no putt guy, a good putting week away from a win. We've said that for a long time. Yeah, JT Poston, perfect. He's been playing terrible. Rick mentions him on Monday because it's a perfect golf course for him. He goes out there and wins. Matt McCarty won the Corn Ferry. He won the Corn Ferry Tour, right? Pat and Kazire have been playing some better golf. He was a little surprising as well, but he kind of backed it up since. Nico, it's out of nowhere. It's like Michael Kim's win at the John Deere Classic.
I was going to say it was just like the Michael Kim win.
It's like Nico's win at the Puerto Rico Open.
Yeah,
right.
It's a
popper, ultimate popper, and what a closer!
Ultimate popper and closer. I love that. I love that. Yes. So that victory for Nico, he was 250-1, and he basically went. I don't think it was technically wire to wire, but he was sleeping with the lead or around the lead every single night, and guys chasing him down. So it was pretty impressive the way he did it. Patrick, surprise! What surprised you?
I'm going to say the ending to the Sanderson Farms Championship. Because Keith Mitchell looked like he was in control. He had a 2-stroke lead with 5 holes to play. Kevin Hughes up in front, kind of just meandering his way through. Country Club of Jackson makes a birdie on the last hole to clip Lucas Glover by 1, who was in the clubhouse. They come to 18. Bo Hostler's behind a tree trying to get some relief.
For the first time.
For the first time. Just an unbelievable effort. I'm sure he had great intentions in mind. Keith Mitchell on the green, 30 feet to win the tournament. And somehow Bo Hostler is in the playoff and Keith Mitchell is not. A brutal 3-putt from Keith Mitchell. Bo Hostler gets up and down from 100 yards in the middle of the fairway, and then Kevin Yu wins. I think that was the most surprising result because I thought for sure it was either going to be Mitchell or Hostler, most likely Mitchell, and then Yu came out with the win.
Yeah, when they teed off 18, or even after they hit their first shots on 18, you'd be like Kevin Yu would have been the third most likely guy to have won that tournament.
Yes. That was pretty surprising.
That was pretty surprising. The Keith Mitchell putt for a win, a 30-footer for the win, and not even be in the playoff is like.
Oh, he gave it a good roll. I when he let it go 4 feet by, I was like, oh, with how he's putted in 2024, it's like, oh, God.
Well, you looked at his face and you knew that it looked like he just had lost. He didn't even look at the next one. It looked like it was over.
And those same feelings that Patrick felt about that 4-footer, Keith Mitchell also felt about that 4-footer.
Well, I almost felt like he didn't realize that he needed that to get into a playoff. Like the 4-footer seemed so insignificant once he missed. That's what I remember from it.
Wow.
Bizarre, surprising finish.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to these next 3 events. We've got 3 to go. So it is WWT, the Mexico event, Bermuda, and then the RSM. Those are the final 3 events. The player you are watching the closest over those next 3, Greg, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think there's an element here of duplicity, but I'm going to go with a different one here. I'm going to go with Lucas Glover, who's 63rd in the standings. Lucas Glover, kind of like Kurt Kitayama, has knocked the cover off the golf ball this fall. And that kind of ball striking performance has been really impressive to me. And seeing him get into those signature events, I think would be a really big deal, especially when you consider places like Pebble Beach, RBC Heritage, the Travelers. You have some playable signature event spots for all these guys. And if Lucas Glover can start getting a little momentum and get into those things, I think he could be a factor this year. So I'm watching him very closely. I also don't know what to make of his putter. He putts well sometimes, not other times. What are we going to get in these last 3 events on golf courses that really suit his game well? I think he can win at least 2 of them. At least 2 of the last 3 are great spots for Lucas Glover. So I'll be watching him pretty closely.
I like that one. Mine is Doug Ghim, Patrick, and mostly because he has not lost strokes from tee to green since the Houston Open. His results this fall have gotten much better. So he's made the cut in every event. His highlight was the runner-up at the Shriners. But like Greg mentioned, these guys who are just on the outside. So Doug Ghim is 70th. So 60 would get you into those first 2 signature events. I think that he's playing well enough to make a run at that. And I mean, he's been, I don't know, I've always, like, he was a great amateur. He's always been a great ball striker. Sometimes he's figured out the putter. I think he is better than he has shown thus far in his PGA Tour career, but he could make a lot of noise and get into some big time events if he continues this run over the next 3. Where are you headed, bud?
USAM runner-up?
Doc Redman at Riviera, I think, was the
yeah. Virginia Tech legend Mark Lawrence in the semifinals. Doug Ghim beat him. Who could forget that? I went with a couple. I think this is where Greg was kind of leaning with Rickie Fowler, where I don't know how much he's going to play over these next 3. 92, you're comfy inside the top 125. Are you going to try to push it to get inside the top 60? But another factor we have to remember, guys, is the top 50 in the OWGR at year end for the Masters. Rickie Fowler is currently number 66. And the other guy I'm looking at is currently number 44 with Minwoo Lee, 62nd in the FedEx Cup. I don't know if he's going to play on the PGA Tour again this season. He came out and said he's not really going to be chasing the top 60. He's fine. He's going to let the chips fall wherever they may fall. He obviously has defense duties down in Australia, a couple of tournaments down there in December.
Yeah, he just posted something like 2 days ago from Perth, so he's not in the States.
Yeah, so I do wonder if, say, come RSM Classic time, he hasn't moved too much. Say he's dropped to like 65th or something, and he needs a T7 or better to get into those first 2 signature events or whatever. If he decides to add that tournament, so I'm looking at him more. What is he going to do? The FedEx Cup Fall wise, the Aon next 10, and making sure he stays in the top 50 in the OWGR too.
Okay. All right. So Doug Ghim, Rickie Fowler, Lucas Glover over the next 3. And that's kind of a lead in to the final question, which is who most needs a strong finish? Now, this could be taken a lot of ways, Greg. Trying to get into the top 60, trying to get into the top 50 of the OWGR, trying to keep the top 125. There's a lot of different ways we could look at this. Where did you go with this question?
I think that this is Rickie Fowler. I think momentum is really important for him. And so I think it's really important for him to play. Like we talked about earlier. 2, I think it's really important for him to keep that putter hot, keep the confidence rising. And I think he needs to feel like he can win. And if he feels like he can, he'll chase it. And I think you'll see a little more grind out of him, to use your term from earlier, Rick. But I'm worried if, like, the fall, players that play well in the fall are always scary for the next year. Because they're shutting it down, taking a break at the wrong time. Yeah. And it can be a reset sometimes. So for Rickie, I want to see him continue to play. Was he in the Hero?
It's a good question.
I know there were some spots open. I don't think he was.
I don't remember. I glanced at it and was.
I know JT wasn't. And anyway, if Rickie plays well, maybe he gets a spot in the Hero, one of those last 3.
He is not.
It does not look like it. Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense because his world rank, like you said, he's in the 60s, 64. So I think Rickie needs to play. I think he needs to keep the momentum going. I think he needs to keep that putter hot. And then I'll feel a whole lot better about him heading into 2025. And as I said, I think it'll mean that he's going to win.
The worst rank thus far in the field for the Hero is Akshay, who is 28th. There are still 3 Tiger exemptions left. So we will see where those go to. Patrick, I went with Daniel Berger, and you've done a very good job at illustrating the worst possible injury timing in the history of sport for Daniel Berger. He is 129th in the FedEx Cup Fall standings. I don't know what his current card situation is, and if he's on a major. I don't know what his card situation is, but Daniel Berger, I just vividly remember Daniel Berger being one of the best players in the world, and so much fun to watch, and calm, cool, and collected. We're talking about a guy who's 129, who has been playing a lot more golf recently. Would love to see him sprint to the finish line and play good.
Yeah, I was interested in this earlier this week, not on major, minor medical, so kind of just going with the flow. The Burgermeister is. Okay. I too had Rickie Fowler for a good finish. I'll switch it up though, since this is showbiz after all. I'll take it across the pond. I'm looking at the DP World Tour. I'm looking at those 10 PGA Tour cards up for grabs. And there's a chance we get a couple Italians with PGA Tour status in 2025.
Let's guess. Hold on. Let's guess.
Matteo Manassero.
Yeah. Matteo Manassero. He's been playing great.
Matteo Manassero is currently 3rd among those not otherwise exempt.
Guido Migliozzi.
He is 9th. So I'm looking at Guido, seeing if he's able to polish this off. He's got a little buffer in the name of Romain Langasque, a.k.a. Romaine Lettuce.
Yes.
But then you got Tom McKibben coming close behind there, the Northern Irishman. Perhaps he can be
another Tommy lad.
Yes. And so I'm looking at those 2 cats, the Italians, as Brad Pitt's character in Inglourious Bastards would say.
Nice. So yeah, I just pulled up Buongiorno.
But buongiorno.
Berger is exempt as a tournament winner through 2024. So you're telling me, so just to be clear, if he stays at 129, he will play on the Korn Ferry Tour next year?
Conditional status. So I'm thinking as a tour winner,
he would just get into some of the the reordering and the shuffling.
He'll play the Gen Pop events.
So he won in 2020, which gives him 2 years. Then he won in 21, which gives him an extra year. And then some of the exemptions have been given an extra year because of COVID-19. Like Gary Woodland's 5-year major championship exemption is actually 6 because of COVID. I'm guessing that's what Berger's is through. So that's why it's through 24.
Okay. Right. Okay. But, right. So it's not like he's going to immediately be relegated to the Korn Ferry Tour. He's just going
he'll be in Myrtle Beach. He'll be in the Dominican.
He'll play like 18 times.
Yeah, top one. Okay, sorry, top 150 getting conditional PGA Tour status. Yeah. Okay.
Still not great, but
no, still not great. Okay, gents. Anything else before we get out of here and start our trick or treating?
Greg, stay safe out there. I know the streets can be tough. Halloween night, hooligans running about, both teenagers and grown women, apparently.
Yeah.
So thinking about you tonight.
You got to watch out for those tricks as well. And I'm especially thinking about you, Patrick, since you have no treats this year.
Yeah, quite honestly, in that woman's defense,
no treats.
She just gave you a trick. She didn't take your treat. She gave you a trick.
She should be in jail, Rick.
She took the treat and it's a trick. You can't do that.
Oh, right. She tricked and treated.
Yeah. How about both?
She robbed me not only of my belongings, but of my Halloween, which might be even worse.
You're going to be the new
and
Halloween version of the Grinch.
The children's Halloween in 2024. She's going to be coming by. She's probably going to have a different costume on.
You know what she looks like?
A mask, most likely. I have a general sketch in my mind. You don't forget. You don't forget trauma like that.
I have no comment.
I am done with this conversation. So happy Halloween. Enjoy a safe, fun trick-or-treating. Have some Kit Kats for me, Greg. We will be back on schedule next week. WWT. So that'll be your Monday, Tuesday, Sunday schedule, I presume. So we'll be back right at it. And we'll sprint towards the end of the fall. But for now, big thanks to producer Josh. He does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there is Greg DuCharme. You can find him at The Real GFD. Do it. And that's Patrick McDonald at P McDonald CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.